now to Jacques Reland, a fellow of the London-based think tank, the Global Policy Institute. He joins us from Saint-Malo in France. Jacques Reland, welcome. Good to see you. The Russia-Ukraine conflict clearly big on the agenda for this Beijing visit. Realistically, what expectation is there that any progress might be made on Ukraine with this visit?
Macron hoped against hope, I would say, that maybe China would act as a peacemaker in the conflict in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine. But that's not the case, and it's not in China's interest. It's far from China, and China has actually benefited from the situation in the couple between Russia and China. China now has clearly the upper hand. China has also some side benefits, such as cheap gas, for example. But actually, there was a breakthrough, which was quite important, in my opinion, is the fact that Xi Jinping put out some red lines. He clearly said that in this conflict, he was totally against, he would not condone the use of nuclear, chemical, and biochemical weapon. So that is quite a step, telling Putin, who has been threatening to use nuclear weapons in Belarus or elsewhere, that not to go too far, to bring him to his senses in a way, not to get involved yet in a peace movement, although the French source said that maybe Xi Jinping will call Zelensky, which he hasn't done yet. That's a French source, so I don't know whether it's also a Chinese, but it's a positive step forward, and it shows that actually this meeting happened in good harmony, and that both countries agreed on a certain vision of the world, of the future world order, which is quite similar.
What would be good outcomes from these meetings, from this gathering? I mean, how do you see Europe and China relations moving forward beyond the ceremonials?
I think that Europe and China's relation will move towards agreement. Europe doesn't want a confrontational attitude to China, unlike the USA at the moment. And Europe is an ally, obviously, is part of NATO, ally with America, but not necessarily allied. And that's always been the view of Emmanuel Macron, who always saw Europe as a political identity with its own interests, own values to defend in this multipolar world. They agree on the concept of the multipolar world. They don't want an American world order. They don't want a Chinese world order. They would like it to be human rights and international law based order. And in that sense, there's both seem today the tune music was actually quite positive in that sense. And there was a problem with China as far as Europe was concerned. Therefore, there was too many risks in doing trade with China. As we saw during the COVID crisis, the supply chain kind of stopped for a while and undermined European interests. And also, there's the issue that there's no reciprocity. And Macron and von der Leyen were insistent that there should be reciprocity in agreements. And I think that China is ready to move, because China now, the foreign trade of China is suffering from American sanctions. And Europe is actually the main importers of Chinese goods. 20% of European imports come from China. So Europe needs China, but they need to rebalance in a fairer way their relationship. At the same time, Macron added the issue that there's a big issue which concerns the whole world, is global warming and the fight to preserve biodiversity. And there they have agreed on joint action on that field. And that's very important for Europe too.
Jacques Reland, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the programme. Jacques Reland, fellow of the London-based think tank, the Global Policy Institute.